A health commissioner had study after study that pointed to low birth weight for babies in families that were close to these wells, birth defects. You got respiratory illness risks doubling. You've got levels of benzene and formaldehyde in the air around these fracking operations that are thousands of times higher than normal. The data was overwhelming. The right call was made.
That was Paul Gallay from the environmental group Riverkeeper, who was on the show last night, a group long opposed to hydrofracking. And yesterday, they were barely containing the glee here because the governor released a 2+ year long environmental and health study when it comes to hydrofracking, and then banned the gas mining procedure here in the state. Cuomo, he cited environmental and health risks associated with fracking, but he also left tens of millions potentially of dollars on the table here, money other states are making off the controversial process. The ban being applauded in the environmental community and panned by most notably Republicans, business groups, and communities in the state's long-impoverished southern tier. You know, and for me, I didn't realize this. 32 states are doing fracking, and it's not just the red ones. You got California, Illinois, Pennsylvania, obviously.
But there's a difference. A lot of the western states, because of the shale deposits, are able to do vertical fracking. It's like basically drilling. In the East Coast, it would have to be the hydraulic, the horizontal fracturing. That's the one that includes a lot of the gases, and that's the one that is the bigger polluter. As we see here, it's the going left to right on your screen. That's the hydraulic or the horizontal part of it. But that's the more dangerous version.
But isn't it fair to say, to play devil's advocate, that there's a lot of unknowns about hydrofracking, from everything from the chemicals using to the long-term implications. But we don't have definitive science. Now, Paul took issue with this yesterday, that says we definitively know about the long-term health or environmental consequences of this.
The point is that when you're making a public health issue, this is what Cuomo did. First, he talked about it as an economic and development issue. There, you take some risks. As soon as he decided to turn the conversation to a public health conversation, in a public health matter, the proponent has to prove it's safe, not the opponent has to prove it's unsafe. And what the Commissioner of Health ended up saying was, I don't know. And I don't know was not enough to overcome the public health presumption.
But did the governor make a mistake in sort of not mandating better safety when it comes to hydrofracking? And here's, follow me for a second. In Texas, they write a lot of school books. So, and there's such a big market that they basically alter the school textbook market for the entire country. So what Texas wants in its textbooks, the rest of the country gets. Same thing with California and auto emission standards and other things that are automotively related. I thought Governor Cuomo could have been in a position to say, we'll be open for fracking when it's done more in a way that's guaranteed to be safer, when there are new techniques that are employed.
That's called,
show me those new techniques.
That's called taking a political decision that will help you and turning it into something that will get everybody angry at you.
Why? He'd be leading the way. He'd be the first guy in the country to make fracking safer.
The anti-frackers would hate it, and the pro-frackers would say, you're not letting me frack right now. So you'd get every...
Careful, by the way. You're going to get in trouble in a while, yeah.
I know what I'm talking about.
It's when, not if.
Look, the interesting thing about this is if he was going to do this, why in God's name did he wait till after the election?
Yeah, well, and that for me, Dominic, was the question, which was as soon as I heard that we were getting, the decision on casinos, I said, watch it. We're going to get the decision today. We knew it was before the end of the year. I go, today comes the decision on fracking. And I said, today it means we're not going to get fracking in New York. And I didn't have a dog in the fight here. But please, for 2 years, the governor has been sitting, Hamlet on the Hudson on this thing. And then he buries it the day the casino decision comes down. Whether you like it or don't like it, this was not inspired leadership on this thing.
Well, the governor was in a very tough position politically. I mean, wouldn't we basically, if we were in his shoes, except for Brodsky, of course, wouldn't we do almost exactly the same thing? No. I mean, I hate to admit that Brodsky's right yet again.
It's twice in one show.
Yeah, it ain't happening no more. It's not happening no more. Maybe I'm tired. But putting yourself in the governor's shoes, Richard, and I ask you this question. Now let's look at the other side first. Places like Horsehead, New York, Elmira, New York, part of the southern tier, it's rough. There's no economic activity.
It was double whammy yesterday, Don. They thought they were getting a casino.
Right.
Not only did they not get the casino, they didn't get the fracking.
Right. Okay, so I understand that they're saying, help, we're starving right now. But what is the governor made the right decision? What is the great rush? I think that's the point that Brodsky was making.
I'll jump into this and
go
play
ahead.
devil's advocate. I don't like fracking, but I love the stuff that comes out as a result of it. And
What?
the natural gas and
do
the
you
energy.
like the water that lights up on fire?
The natural
is
gas
that
and
what
the
you like?
No, the natural gas and the energy that we have coming out of it.
Okay, and
How
what if
much
everybody has
hang-
cancer
hang-
10
hang
years
on,
from
let
now?
Me, let me
Go
answer
ahead,
the
go
question that
ahead.
you asked me before you
Okay.
ask another one.
Go ahead.
How much do you pay at the gas tank today? How much do you pay at the gas station? Because part of the reason why that price is down is because of fracking. Because
Really?
there's so much.
Yeah.
Because there's so much
Nah,
energy.
I don't buy that.
There's a glut. There's a glut of energy out there. OPEC is now increasing its production because they want to knock some of these frackers out of business.
That's
also one of the reasons.
beyond debate, what he's saying. I mean,
I still don't buy it.
It's also one of the reasons why
because
Russia's
we say it
economy
so,
is
that
cheaper.
don't make it so.
No. We do know this much, Tom. We can debate whether it was good or bad, but we do know this. And I said this to Paul yesterday. For the environmental concerns, legitimate though they may be, what was always the biggest thing? That, you know what, we got to get away not only from oil dependency, from a national interest standpoint, but from an environmental one. So alternative energies, and it can't all be solar and wind, okay? Alternative energies come to the table here.
He shrewdly made it a public health decision. He didn't make it an economic decision. He didn't make it an environmental decision. He made it a public health decision.
All right, Governor Brodsky, would it have taken you 2 years to say, you know what, the science just ain't there, I'm not
Wouldn't take
comfortable with
him
it?
He wanted to wait.
I asked you,
until,
smart guy,
no,
would
it
you
would
have
not
waited
take
2
me.
years? Thank
I would
you.
not have waited 2 years,
Yes.
especially if you get a decision from the Commissioner of Health, which is ultimately not, it's dangerous. He didn't say that.
Yeah.
He said, I don't know.
know.
And I don't know, you could have gotten 18 months ago.
By the way, on top of fracking and casinos, I'm surprised we didn't get $15 Tappan Zee bridge tolls yesterday. I
You
mean,
know
it,
what?
it seemed like the perfect day to throw it out
What are
there.
you doing tomorrow?
Exactly. So dumping on a Friday, right, guys? All right. That fracking ban leads to our second online question for you tonight. What do you think? Do you agree with New York's ban on fracking? Is it smart here given the uncertainty as it relates to the health and environmental consequences? Or is it bad business, especially as Dominic said, for the southern tier that certainly needs something here? Find us on Facebook and Twitter and sound off. All right, coming up next, Cuba. A lot of opinions on whether the president did the right thing yesterday in beginning normalizing relations. Is he helping Cubans or, as the critics say, just the Castros? We'll debate that straight ahead.